Hey, my name's Frank Barth, and here's my testimony. I really feel like my life has been broken down into sections, and I grew up in Hamilton Township, and from 0 to 15, my life was basically the suburban life with my mom, dad, and sister. And when I was 15, my parents got separated, and I certainly won't blame anything on them. But that gave me plenty of time to have free time and do different things in my life. I grew up in church. I grew up Catholic, but I didn't know nothing about the Bible. I heard about Jesus, and by 15, I started making decisions on my own. And one of the first decisions I made was to drink and drug, and that was a tough part of life. And I drank and drug from 15 to 33, and by the time the consequences started catching up with me, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. So at 33, I felt like that less than that Pastor Mark talks about all the time. I didn't have any God in my life, and but I had nowhere else to turn, and I asked God for help, and I just started talking out loud after one of those nights, and I said, God, can you please help me if you're there? And I instantly felt this calm come over me, and that was on November 1st, 1998, and 2 days later I entered a 12-step program, and it's been an amazing journey, and it really started with baby steps, with just prayer and meditation in the beginning, and and that's how it started for me. I heard a friend say recently that the darker the dark, the brighter the light, and life started really turning around for me at that point. I was doing the walk one day at a time. I was clean and sober, and 4.5 years into my sobriety, I met my wife, and it was awesome. We went out on a date when we fell in love, and I totally overachieved in this part of my life. She's the greatest thing in the world, and I love her to death, and she's completely awesome. And Patty and I wanted to be parents, and we tried for a while, and we decided that we would go into the foster program, foster to adopt in Camden. And then all of a sudden, we were licensed, and here comes Joey, 31 pounds, 31 inches, 4 years old, ready to turn 5, and being instant parents was a real challenge, and it was amazing. So, but we would talk about raising Joey with a God in his life, but me being Catholic and Patty being Baptist, we just didn't know which way to go. But on a reference, we were told to, why don't you try FBC? And we went to FBC, and we walked out of the first service, and we both looked at each other, and we were like, wow, this is awesome. This is the place for us. But I was still confused in my Catholic ways, and I would hear that Pastor Mark was a pastor and not a priest, and this was a service, not a mass. And how come Jesus isn't on the cross anyway? More for that a little later. After the service, Pastor Mark said that he'd be glad to speak with any of us if we had the chance to. And so I made an appointment to meet with Pastor Mark for 3 weeks in a row. And I remember walking into his office and told him, straight out, I'm the confused Catholic, and he said, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. We talked for a long time, and then he asked me, how I thought I got to heaven. And I basically told him that, being a good person, doing the right thing, and but good works, and I have to laugh about that now. And what he did was he made it very simple for me. He drew a picture, and he put me on one side and God in heaven on the other side, and he drew the cross in the middle. And he told me that the only way to get to the Father is through the Son. And, it was an amazing time for me. He gave me a workbook that we worked on through the week. And after, the third appointment that I made with him, we both prayed together, and I said the salvation prayer, and I felt, clean and whole. And the other thing that he told me was that Patty had kept telling me was Jesus isn't on the cross because he's alive. He's alive. He died for our sins. He died on the cross. He rose again, and our God is alive, and it's just an amazing thing to think about. And I can't really thank Pastor Mark enough. Pastor Don, Pastor Jim, and Pastor Andy, they've encouraged me to be a better husband, a better father, a better friend, and a better brother. And, two of the scriptures that really have helped me are 1 Thessalonians 5:16 to 18. Rejoice always, pray continuously, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Jesus Christ. And of course, Romans 8:31. If God is for us, who can be against us, you know, and that's the one I hold on to strong. If God is for me, who can be against me?